Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be working on the second part of my little duck, my Scrappy Duck. But first I finished his feet. They came together reasonably well for me. It's a little tricky, but once you sort of get it where you want positioned of those wires and you stitch them in, it seems to just come together. The only comment I would make is when I put the wires on, I thought they were a little bit closer away, well, further away from the edge. And then I unpicked them and actually lined them up to the edge of this piece of fabric. Once I did that, it sort of made sense. I literally just laid them on and stitched them down. It wasn't until I rewatched Lesley's video I realised that she has them right on the edge of that fabric. And then I found that they tended to roll a little bit on me, which then distorted. Let's say that's the wire, and I've stitched it right onto the edge of the foot. They then rolled out a little bit, which made the foot bigger. So when you go to put this all together, your foot at the top with the wires has got bigger. Just make sure that that is just rolled under nice and tight. You'll know what I mean when you go to do it. And that way, when you start doing your top stitch, it's in line with the foot below, the next pattern piece. Mine fluted out a little, making my foot a little bit bigger than it needed to be. But once I tucked it back under, it worked. I guess, am I trying to explain myself? Sort of. But it did work. So I do have my feet done, my beak is done, my body is done, and now we're on to the good bit. We get to cloud our little ducky. Now, I was doing a bit of tidy up of my room. Let me just come up a little bit. I was tidying up my room and I've found this piece of fabric. It's been rattling around on my desk for a little bit, so I'm sort of thinking along those lines, and I found some colours that sort of suit the blue duck look I'm going for. But first, what I decided is I will get a neutral base on him. And any blue or flowers or embroidery will be all on the wings. So my goal in this part is to just get some fabric onto him that is neutral. So I've got my bucket of neutral. That's not neutral, or is that? Got a bit of ticking in there. So let's just upend it. That way we can plumage those fabrics. Let's get the colours out of the way. It's all about cladding my little duck, making him look scrappy with all these bits and pieces. Now, before I get started, Lesley mentioned to do his head. She suggested you trace over the head portion as a bit of a template for your fabric, and I thought, well, that was genius, because I could already see that the shape of the head was a little bit tricky, and I thought, well, I like that suggestion. I'm going to cut this out, and it's going to be, I might make it a fraction bigger. Admittedly, that side seams are in place and things like that already, so the duck's head is a lot narrower than the pattern piece started out, is what I'm trying to say. Given it a little bit of length, and I'm thinking, she then suggested that when you create your patch, you put it over the seam. So I'm thinking along the lines of that will work beautifully, and that'll come right up to the top of his head. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. It'll come down his neck a little. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm just going to rummage now and find myself some nice patchy bits. I love this fabric. It's vintage antique linen from my trip to France. Do I leave that side on? Oh, that'd be yummy. Let's just cut it out with that rough edge in place, because it would be rather cute to have that on him, because I unpicked a red piece of fabric off of it, and I've got this bit that was sandwiched between fabrics. So therefore I've got this unpicked weird little end. So where are we going to put it? We want to see it. We'll pop it on the back of his head. So as with my Henrik the hare, I did a lot of pinning. I've just upended the pins in a container. Goodness sakes. I tidied up my desk a little. Well, that's debatable. Marginally ready to film this video, and in the process this little container is popped open. So I know his cheek. We don't want, I don't know what I want. As with the hair, I just pinned it. And now it gets quite dangerous, let me tell you, because of the pins everywhere. But just take your time. Try not to grab your piece, because you will find where the pins are. So I've got some pins here ready. Might as well use them. So let's grab another piece of fabric. I'm looking for texture. I'm looking for interest. So I like the look of this one. Some of these pieces I have been nibbling at for months, and they are slowly disappearing. Like, look at that. That's an old placemat that I found thrifting. But I just love the feel, and it's like got a little seed in it. Don't know. I reckon if you were to wash that, it probably would bleed a stain out. You know, seeded cotton. Sometimes you give that a rinse and suddenly you've got a hang of a mess because the little seeds they've left in it have bled out everywhere. So I guess when I stitch this down, that's the point I decide which do I love the best, and that then comes up and over, which I'm thinking is going to be the French fabric. Be nice to have some French fabrics on it, being he's a French duck. He was made in France, so to speak. I believe Lesley said in a comment, or not sure now, it was a little while back, that she was making a duck while she was on holidays in France. It does explain his name a little, doesn't it? Okay, that's looking good. The back of his head. And that will just come around with a bit of an ease and a tuck and a stitch and a... Oh, let's get down into these linens. Sort of want something a little bit... They're very white. They're very white. That's better, but still, maybe I don't have as many colours here as I thought. This is a vintage tea towel. I like that tone. I sort of want him a bit beigey. I might need to go digging further afoot for some more fabrics. I thought my little container had enough, but how quickly you use them. I know I've got some more creamy taupey colours. They're probably a bit fresh. I do like that feed sack look. Okay, next piece. Tuck that into there. Sort of don't want it too uniformed. Maybe that's good for his face. We'll come straight down the centre of his smiley little dial there. It might be a case of some extra fabrics come down. Well, that's actually going to make it. So we've used 3 so far. Ow! See what I mean? If that makes it under the chin to each other with a bit of manipulating, I then can always bring in another slither up here to patch him, and I could use something like a doily snippet, but gee, that's so close. I think it might just make it. We'll see. We'll know once we start stitching. So we need another piece to come through here at the side of his head. I do like the idea of using that. I wonder if I've got a browner one. I think I do. Hold that thought. Yeah, look, here we go. I've got some more. I think it's time to restock my neutrals. Things are getting a little thin. That's a good piece. That's a good piece. See this one here, it's even got a bit of blue. Oh, I like how I could get two colours. Yeah, all right. Let's restock the stash of neutrals. I know I will use them. Let's pop that in there. Here's another piece of linen that, no, it's very similar to what's already in the pot. Oh, here we go. This is what I want. I want something a little bit coarser. These are really nice to use. If I can get a decent square at my fingertips, I will use it. That's another one that's a nice colour. What is that? Is that something good I shouldn't be chopping into? No, it's all good. See how it's got these little pilly bits within it? It's amazing how much of this I go through because it's, you know, neutral, and then I go for it from there. So that's good. I seem to have a lot of this creamy colour and not much of this colour, and I sort of felt like the duck needed that more cream look. Okay, now we're cooking. That's very textured. I could use that on his side. I might use a bit of this. Cut another wing, not a wing, another face shape. Might give myself a little bit extra width because I feel like we're getting got a bit of distance to cover there. So that'll get to his head. Okay. So then it's just a case of taking your needle and thread, if you're wanting to use a highlight thread or just a cream, something neutral, and just start working out what fabric lies on what and stitching him down. Yeah, that should just, I think that'll just do it. And that's good because then I can get this ratty edge here coming over that. So how many do I use? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you go, 4 pieces made its way around the head part. So that's all pinned. That's good. I need to re-watch the videos, I think, too, before I stitch this in case there's something I'm missing. I know there's a little bit of a tail thing, but that's probably on top. Is there anything on the top of his head? I sort of feel like there was. Hang on, hold the horses. Yeah, there is. He's got a little tuft up there, but that would be after this is all stitched. So that's good. Now, let's just start patching our little duck, and we want some of this beautiful vintage fabric for sure. So I'm going to cut a nice generous piece of that. And we've got a bit of a feathery ducky thing happening, I think, so I might just, oh, look at that side, it's even prettier. Might just ease that up there like a swish of a feather and pin it. Oh, you beautiful boy. This should come together reasonably quickly compared to the rabbit. Okay, so what else have we got? We might put a piece of that up his other side. That'd be pretty cute. So we might just do the same thing again, just create a swish. It's a nice space, the side of him. So I might just aim for his tail and sneak up his neck a little bit and just pin it on. Sort of feels like I'm, ouch, pin. He's getting dangerous. He will be a pin cushion, so I might bring that together at his tail there. That sort of feels like I'm creating something of interest there at the top. This is when you start grabbing at him and you realise that you've got pins. Might just come across there. That works for me. It'll sit nicely in a nice swoosh. Yep. That will come across nicely there. Oh, you are a pretty fellow, aren't you? I think that'll meet actually quite well, to be honest. Could even raise that a little. That's covered his neck. So now we need some fabric to go across his bottom. What have we got? Have to be something. That's a nice scrappy bit. Let's just bring that in there because it's a bit random. And that can just swish along there. It's a good way of using up your bits. All right, let's focus on his tush. They were feet. I was considering making his feet out of this fabric, but it's just a little bit too coarse, and I thought, oh, I could see lots of what was I going to say, lots of bends and curves and tucking, and I thought, oh, I'm going to make it easier on myself and have a fabric that molds really well. This is some old doily. You know, when you get your blank doily, it's got a few memories. Let's find a spot for that. Mr. Scrappy Duck. That looks cool. He's a bit of an odd bod, isn't he? All these scrappy bits. But that's what you want. Could do with some pieces to come across his little tush. Let's get down in amongst all this again. That's not a bad piece. It's a bit light. Maybe I need to go looking further afoot. Maybe I could do a stripe. Is there any reason why I can't do a stripe? Bit of a green, no. Bit of a blue. Different blue to that, so no. What about some music fabric? I like this fabric. Wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of music around the bottom of the duck. Let's just cut a piece off. See if we can get some music up his, ow, there's a pin. Maybe some music up his tush. That'd make him look a bit interesting. Yeah, bit of a swoosh of some music. I like the colours. So the plan is keep him neutral and then embellish with some blues to build the whole blue tones into him. How we're going to do that yet, I do not know. A decision for another day. But yeah, oh, I love him. I love him. Okay, so we need a piece maybe coming around. I might bring a bit of this pile of fabric in. If it doesn't look right, we can always not use it, but at least pin it on and see. I don't mind it. Sort of breaks him up a little bit. So I know what I'll be doing this evening. I will be stitching all of my little patchy bits on my little duck. Yeah, I like that. I like how it's got music coming up his bottom there. So I could do with something to come across there. Maybe I bring a little bit more of this feed sack. I do so love it. Yeah. I like how it's quite stretchy. So that's going to be easy to hide a multitude of ends and bumps and lumps. So I might just stitch that over there. I think the other side has the other piece, so that's good. No matter which way he's sitting on my desk, I'm seeing this beautiful fabric. Yep. Okay. Ow. Could do with the piece going through there. That's two. Maybe I'll bring a little bit more of this French fabric up. Yeah, I like that. I'll fiddle around with the layers when it comes to fitting it, because I might find that that piece looks better underneath that piece. You sort of just comes together. And you might find that that piece comes down, you know. It's just a case of getting some bits and pieces pinned onto your duck, or at least an area, and then see where your stitching goes once you start stitching. So that edge there might look better underneath all of that, which I'd say would be the case. Is that goes under there like that. That looks nicer. Ow. There we go. So that is a very good start. Yep. And you might get into here. See how we've got a bit of a gap? You can either jiggle your fabrics to absorb the gap, or find something that can go over it, like a feature piece or a I've sort of tucked it a little bit there. So I feel like it has disappeared somewhat, but that's when something like a lace motif, because I definitely want to do that, is bring some. There's one that's really pretty that I just love. This guy, I used him on the rabbit. See, something like that, just yeah, that side or that side, which means I might need to reposition that. It could come up the neck a little bit. Yeah, so it's just a case of, he could even come across his back. I've yet to put some blues on, so I'm just not sure where it'll go. But that's pretty much the plan for the duck. So what I will do now, see, now I'm thinking I should have made a bigger duck, because then I could put more things on the duck. I've finished placing the base on and I feel like I need more bits, but I've run out of duck. How funny is that? So what I'll use to stitch him, don't have much of it, but I know I have more elsewhere, is just the crochet cotton. And it's just a case of threading up. Look, I do need to get these needles under control. Not needles, pins. They're going everywhere. They're nice and sharp. Ah, that's why they didn't. See, I closed that and didn't close that. That's why the pins got out of control. So I need a needle. Nice and sharp. And I think I will start at the nape of his neck. Is that a good spot to start? He's going to be a nightmare to grab. Why? Because of the pins. I think I'll get his face sorted. I might get my pin cushion out. And I'm just going to stitch up that seam first. You've just got to start somewhere. If you're debating where to start, just start. And it's a case of, if you find that there's too many pins, like I've just done, pull them all out, just have your elements nearby and away you go. I'm going to try and save a little time by keeping the pins in place if I can without hurting myself, and stitch him down as I go. Oops. Just take your time. I'm just doing a whip stitch or an overcast stitch and working my way up his neck. This is just the first layer. From there we'll work on a feathery look, a lacy look, I think. I don't know. It'll give me time to study my little duck and just have a think about what else I can do to build up on his little body, some more interesting pieces. So I'm catching him underneath. Just take your time and just get your stitches into him a little. Oop, that pin can go, it's in the way. And slowly, slowly you will get your little ducky bits stitched on. If you find you get somewhere and you've got a weird little gap, well, don't panic. Maybe look at getting something lacy. that could cover the little gap. You got all sorts of things you can do. I love the crocheted edges of doilies, where Grandma has gone around the edge of some doily and put on a nice crocheted edge. They make great little morsels to put on scrappy characters like this little guy. But it will come together. I might get rid of that pin because that's a trouble waiting to happen. And we're nearly at the top, and that's married nicely there together. So that's all you do, is just stitch him on and have a fun. Get your little ducky right up to the top. So at this point, I'll probably change my thread and then go back down and come up again, I think, is how I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to knot that off. Lovely. Snip. He's a dangerous little duck with all these pins in him. Don't be afraid to change your threads too. You might find that a different coloured thread might add some interest to your duck as well. Can't decide about that piece. That might... I know where the rest of that is, and I might be able to get a more interesting piece. I'll come back to that. Or I might find another doily that catches my eye. I think I'm going to come up this side next. So just bury my knot down in here. And then, like before, just work my way up. I think I could get rid of that blue-headed pin. That's no longer needed. Just make sure that's nice and tight. It's a good idea doing the shape of the pattern, head pattern, to get your pieces to get up there. It's a more uniform look about the duck, because it's quite narrow and you're climbing up and getting wider as you go. So to have your patch in the shape that it sort of is naturally, I think is a genius suggestion. Thank you, Lesley. Okay. You can use those curved needles as well. I think I've got one. Yeah, I've got one here. It's got a curve to it, if you can see that there. I might end up pulling it out. I did pull it out. I found it in my grandmother's treasure trove of bits and bobs in the old Singer sewing machine, and I thought, I knew I had one somewhere, and I pulled it out and I was going to use it on the rabbit, but I just couldn't get on with it. I probably didn't persevere long enough, because I see many use them, and it probably would have saved a lot of painful fingers by having the curve there. So I might have another play with it this time if I feel like I got a spot that would benefit from having a curve to my needle. But I certainly did survive making the rabbit, or the hare. I keep calling it the rabbit. I think I did all the way through the video. It's actually a hare. Lovely. Nice and ratty. So when you go into the thrift stores, if you're looking for textures and fabrics and that, go to the placemat section. You'll often find that there's interesting placemats. I picked up one the other day and, oh, the fabric is beautiful. I haven't brought it into my scrap bucket here yet because I'm sort of thinking it could be used in its entirety and be embellished. See if I can find it. Sidetracked. Yeah, this. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? It's not old. It'd be something modern, but that, it sort of feels a bit like a Hessian, but it's not. It's really nice. And that would be a lovely morsel to have in your stash of neutrals. But I haven't yet brought myself to cutting it up. I'm hoarding it. I'm sort of envisioning a project on it, actually. Use it as the base. Don't know what. There we go. The second. See how quick that was? This little guy won't take long. I might just go all the way over there, I think. It seems to want to lay there. So I'm going to just do it. Okay. Sort of pinning it down at the same time as I'm sneaking back down the opposite side underneath that piece of French fabric. Don't think I'll regret that. I'm just going to, it's going to make a great pin cushion. Just goes in so beautifully. Love him. Love, love, love him. I'm heading back down the other side now, and I really don't need to because I'm under something. So I'm going to knot it off before I get carried away. But I've stitched it anyway. It's certainly not going to push back on the fabric laying over it because that's nice and secure under there. It's probably a good thing. Okay. Now, once again, back down to the neck. Tuck everything in. Readjust anything that needs readjusting. Repin if you feel that that's going to help. And then I'm going to come up this side. Geez, coming together quick. Running out of cotton. I'm sure I've got a roll of it somewhere. Probably not enough to get all the way, but we're going to start. Get my knot down here where it's not going to be seen. And up we go again. I'm going to say that this stitching of the neck is probably the trickiest bit. I think the rest of it will actually be quite simple. So once you get your head done, I think you're on the home straight personally. Oh, now it's become unthreaded. Oh, goodness me. Bandit's got a toy. Pepper wants the toy. Bandit's like, all right, you can have the toy. And then he's like, no, I want the toy. There's this real argy-bargy going on. It sounds worse than it is. It's more of a back off. This is my toy. So they're playing rough. And then they go and sit next to each other and have a lick and a cuddle. Like, gosh, if I was to react to all of their behaviours, I'd be the one emotionally ruined, thinking no one was getting on, and meanwhile they've already made up and they're off checking the boundary fence. You know, they just, humans, we just hang on to things so much longer, don't we? Animals just go, stop it, I don't like it. Okay, let's be friends. Like, it's just, it's really interesting. I find it interesting. So I'm coming up this here, but I'm running out of thread. So I'm just going to do one more stitch, but disappear in behind, knot it off, and then I need to find some more cotton. Oh, another roll done. How quickly we go through the cotton around this place. Let me find another roll. I'd be pretty confident I have one in here. I think this is very close. If not, that is it. I think this is thicker. We'll leave that one. That's brand new. It's good when you find them second hand, but don't seem to be lately. Looks like I've been here before. Okay. All right, so we are threaded, we are ready. So I've just got to bury my knot in there, and away we go. As if nothing happened. We are off and racing again. It's a good weekend project. That rabbit, the hare, he's not really a weekend. He took a little bit of time. You sort of have big areas to do, like his legs and then his arms and his ears, and he just never seems to end. But this little guy, if you do him 50% smaller, he's a lovely little project. He'd be great to put together a selection of fabrics, like you do the base and then give someone, I'm going to try and make that little tussle stand up there, because that would be rather cute. Give someone the project with some fabrics. That'd be just gorgeous. As a Christmas gift. So you do the sewing machine work, and then just give them a selection of maybe even just base fabrics to get them to this stage. They stitch, and then they can go exploring for you know, fabrics to build the wings up if they want to make him lacy. Or there's heaps popping up on Lesley's Facebook site, and looking amazing. I love their eyes. So I'm coming back down the other side. So I do want the French fabric, that rough edge outside. So I just want to make sure I've got that. All my pins have been removed, so I'm a bit freestyling here, and I don't want to lose the shape. So I just need to make sure I tuck as I go, nice and tight. Now, I'm not sure if you'll see another duck video next Monday. Got a few things on, so, I mean, videos planned. So you might see him whenever now. He was going to be every Monday, but we'll see. Might be it'll be definitely next week, but whether it's Monday, just depends on the date. I'm starting a new project and I haven't had a look at the calendar, and the 1st of September is when I want to kick the project off. And Ducky might bump into that date. I just don't know. I should have looked before I started filming. So if not, he will be the Monday. If the 1st of September is the Monday, he won't be. He might be pushed to the Tuesday, but he will be back. There we go. That's pretty good. I might just pull those pins out, push back that lovely fabric, and just get in here and really make sure that's nice and secure. So I don't want any bulk pushing back at me. Oh, now I've lost the needle. Oh, goodness sakes. Concentrating. Well, that's good. The neck head is secure. I can bury that knot down in under there amongst his layers of feathers. There we go. Lovely. Get in there and snip it. All right, I might leave that needle with him so that I can find it later. So that's it. He will have some plumage on top. His tail, I'm sure I will emphasize with some plumage. But I think what I'll do for now is just take him to my couch, find a good movie, and I will stitch. When I get there later on, I will stitch his remaining plumage, which won't take long, to be honest. And I'd say I will start along his back here, because I think I need to get this anchored, and then I know he's sealed across the top, and then I can just go for it from there. So yeah, that is he so far. And there's his little feet. Oh, and his little mush. Oh, he's so cute. All right, I'm going to now tidy up my mess. So I had a container for neutrals with the feet. So yeah, okay, I think we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. We have our duck. See, that's a nice piece of fabric too. That hasn't found a spot. Plus I've restocked some of my fabrics here. That's another nice piece. That's good. I can grab this for projects and there'll be something in there that's yummy. And a good old calico or muslin is always got to be in there, just as that quick grab. See, this is where I start keeping bits. Like, that'd make great feathers out of the top of his tail, wouldn't it? Like, imagine that in amongst his tail feathers. Oh, ducky. Let's pop the blue fabrics in here that are at the moment being checked on, and his feet. And I'll put that little feathery bit there, because you never know. We could put feathers. Feathers. Do I have feathers? I think I do. Somewhere. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to cover today. I've got my pattern pieces now filed in the everything you need to make duck file. So I wish you all the best. If you're following along, enjoy the process of starting to put your yummy bits of fabric on your little duck. Oh, you sweet little thing. And I'll see you in the next video where we'll do a little bit more work on his feathers and embellishments from there. So it's all about getting his base done now. All right, guys, look after yourselves. Happy stitching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.